You see, God gave Joseph a very strong business sense. Magaling siya sa business. Gumaling siya sa business. And I cannot imagine where he got that because probably from Jacob. Jacob did a little business. No? Well, not really a little business, pero yeah, he did a business which he used no, to free himself from Laban or Laban. Na, this was the guy who enslaved him for so many years. Dinaya niya si Jacob, pero Jacob was able to free himself by doing a business. And later on, after so many years, no, anak ni Jacob, si Joseph found himself also in a somewhat similar situation. He was also enslaved in Egypt, and he was able to free himself by his God-given sense of business. Business pa rin. Okay, you see how business can free you from being enslaved by your employment or anything. No, kunyari malaki utang mo, you can free yourself from that enslavement by doing a business. So, kasi lahat tayo, no? If you're a believer, kung si Joseph nga, no? Wala pa si Jesus. Joseph did not have Jesus Christ in his life. He did not receive Jesus Christ in his life, and yet he was endowed by God with the gift of creating wealth. Because God gives us the power to create wealth. Yeah, mga believers, but a lot of believers do not yet realize this. They can quote the verse, they can uh, probably preach about the verse, but there are so few Christians who actually apply the principle of the passage. Uh, Hindi sila naniniwala sa business. A lot of churches do not believe in doing a business, and a lot of church pastors, church ministers do not believe in doing a business. Sa kanila, ang business, if you do a business, if a church does a business, kanila, masama yun. No? Masama yun. Anything that has to do with making money sa kanila, masama yun. To them, they think it's demonic. Tapos i-quote nila yung for the love of money is the root a root no is a root of all kinds of evil. Pero no, we should realize that Paul said there that the love of money, the love of money. Pero the book, uh, the church in the book of Acts itself was in business, selling properties, and we can imagine kung ano yung kinikita na when you are in the business of real estate, no, malaking pera yun. Magandang business yon, big time na business yon if you are in the business of selling real estate. And the church in the book of Acts was doing that. And not only that, it was selling its goods. It they sold their properties and their goods. Okay, so the church was a proprietor in that at that time, and they did not think that it was demonic. They did not think that it was inappropriate. They did not think that it was bad. No, they did the business. And the same thing with Paul. He was a tent maker. Okay, it was his business. Tent maker. Wala siyang boss. He just no, produced. He just made mga tent. He was a tent maker together with uh, Barnabas. Ba? No, they were tent makers, and they sold that, and they were able to support their ministry through that. No, hindi sila namamalimos. They were not sending out solicitation letters, yeah, which the church is doing. The church would rather beg than work out a business. And that's sad. That's unfortunate. Because Jesus never begged for money. Jesus never sent out solicitation letters. Jesus never asked for donations. Yeah. Jesus produced money, okay, supernaturally. And also he was supported by his women disciples. You see? So yung mga women disciples na yun, how did they support Jesus Christ? I don't know. It doesn't say in the Bible, but I can guess. No? And my guess is as good as yours, but I can guess that probably the women were in business, doing a business. Kasi yung mga babae nun, hindi naman sila masyadong uh, into employment. I don't think they were employed. Okay, because ang lugar nila ay sa bahay. Okay, so probably they did the business. They were selling something. No, out of that, they supported Jesus Christ and his disciples. And anyway, let's go back to Joseph. No? So during the time of Joseph, no, there was a worldwide famine, and it was allowed by God, probably even provided by God, so that Joseph uh, uh, can be in the limelight. Okay, kasi from prison he became prince of Egypt, no? Second in command, second to Pharaoh. Imagine that, no? In just one click, and God can do the same to you, no? If you find yourself enslaved in some kind of slavery, no? Slavery to employment, slavery to your utang, no? Slavery to your loans or to your debt. Okay, in one click of a finger, God can turn your life around. You see that? Just like what he did to Joseph. No? So Joseph, through the mercy and through the power of God, became a prince, a powerful ruler of Egypt. And yung famine, this is what he said. No, okay, Pharaoh, this is what you should do. No, there are 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. During the 7 years of abundance, you have to keep 1/5 of the harvest. During those 7 years, you have to keep 1/5 of the harvest in storehouses. Okay, and the abundance was so big that 1/5, no, just 1/5 of the harvest, of all the harvests, each harvest they kept 1/5 of the produce of the harvest. No, just imagine, just 1/5 was able to feed all of Egypt and the rest of the world during that 7 years of famine. Ang laki ng abundance. No, it was a big, massive abundance that God provided, and God gave Joseph the strategy, uh, business strategy. You see that? No, and God can do the same thing. In fact, no, God can, no, God equips us with what we need for business in order for our business to prosper, to be successful. The only thing is that we do not use, that gift, the spiritual gift, no, that spiritual enablement ng Panginoon. That's why yung business, sinong gumagamit ng business? Mga non-believers. Okay? And then the church begs for money from these non-believers. That's not God's will. God's will is that the church should prosper. Okay? Yun nga lang, no? There are church ministers who use this to enrich themselves, no? Sa kanila, yung personal, no? They become rich and wealthy, no? With their personal uh, owner, personal possessions, material possessions. That's why no, meron silang personal mansions, no, ang gaganda ng kanilang kotse, mga personal vehicles and everything, and they're living as millionaires, billionaires, and even no, etc., etc. That's not God's will. God's will is for the church to prosper, so that the church can move forward and do its ministry better, especially uh, sharing the gospel, bringing the gospel to other nations. That involves a lot of money, and God wants the church to prosper. That's why God enables believers to succeed in business, like what He did to Joseph. No? At sabi ko nga in my other video, no, if Joseph's brothers did not throw him, no, sold, it did not sell him to the caravan, and if Joseph had stayed in Canaan, Canaan would have been the place that God blessed with Joseph. But what happened was that they threw Joseph, and he found himself in Egypt, a slave in Egypt, so that God blessed Egypt because Joseph was there. Okay, where the anointed man of God is, that place is going to be prospered by God. Yun yung principle nun eh. Okay, so sabi ni Pharaoh dito, no? Verse 39 of Genesis 41, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, see that? Even Pharaoh recognized that it was God. It was not really Joseph. No? Hindi talaga si Joseph uh, that had the talent for business. No? Because Joseph was so good with business. It was not that. But even Pharaoh himself saw, he recognized that it was God. It was God who made Joseph, no? Who gave Joseph a strong sense of business. Okay? So, sabi niya ganon, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there's no one among the people of Egypt, no one but Joseph alone. Why? Because he was anointed by God. Believers are anointed by God to do a lot of things. And one of them is to do a business, to do business. Okay. So there's no one so discerning and wise as you. Imagine that. No one is so discerning and wise as you. Verse 40, you shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. So, yun ang sabi ni Pharaoh. So, he appointed Joseph to take charge of everything except the throne. Okay? He was second in command in all Egypt, si Joseph. And Joseph started business. Yung naipon nila, no, nainipon nila, no, yung harvest, one-fifth of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance. Ipon nila yun sa store cities. They constructed store cities, okay? And during the 7 years of famine, nung nagsimula na, they were selling grains. Okay? So Joseph was in business. And it was business that God used to save Egypt from the famine and to save the rest of the world were buying from Egypt and was able to, God used business to save Joseph from slavery, the enslavery, from slavery. Okay? So, you see, business, dinisign ng Lord yan, no, to free yourself. And I'm going to talk, no, more about business, no, derived from the principles that we can find in the Bible. Business principles that we can find in the Bible. And alam niyo gagawin ng Panginoon sa iyo. If you are in business, no, kagaya na sinabi ni Pharaoh, since God has made you all this known to you, God will make known to you everything you need to know in business is going to guide you. If you believe, no? Problem is if you do not believe, you have to believe. Sabi nga ng Hebrews, no? You must believe that God is a rewarder of those who seek Him, a rewarder of those who seek Him. So if you seek guidance, you must believe that God will reward you of what you're seeking for. Okay, so sabi ng Pharaoh dito, no? God has made all this known to you, and there's no one so discerning and wise as you. Imagine that. If you have that kind of capability in business, that you are so discerning and wise, and no one else is more discerning and wise. No, no one else is wiser and more discerning that you are. That's power. That's so powerful. Okay, that is so powerful. So I encourage you, no, kayo mga Christians, mga church, nasa church, I encourage you to pray for this, no, ask for God to guide you, no, what business to do, and alam nyo, I can suggest na you look for something, you look for a business online that you can do as a church. Siyempre, ano kayo, no? Anong tawag doon? You will risk and you would invest money because it's a business, pero you have to, uh, don't content yourself with solicitation letters, with begging for money, and then you claim that your God is rich. No, you keep claiming that your God is rich, but you keep begging, and a lot of times from non-believers. You keep soliciting or begging, uh, from non-believers. Stop that. See, I'm sure that God's will is for the church and even for the individual believer to be in business.